My name is Margaret, but everyone calls me Maggie. I'm 70 years old, and I've always been afraid of death. I don't know exactly when this fear started, but I believe it's always been a part of me. I grew up in Greenville, a small town in the heart of South Carolina. My life was simple and for the most part happy. My husband Alex was the love of my life. We had 3 wonderful children, and now I also have 7 grandchildren who are my greatest joy. He passed away 5 years ago, and since then my fear of death has only grown. Alex was my rock. When he died, I felt like a part of me disappeared with him. From that moment, my health started to decline. I developed heart problems, and my doctor put me on the list for heart surgery. My fear of death was always present, like a shadow that never left me. I often wondered what was on the other side, if I would see Alex again, if there was a peace that would welcome me. But the fear of nothingness, of the void, paralyzed me. The night before the surgery, I was alone in my hospital bed. I stared at the ceiling, listening to the ticking of the clock on the wall. I couldn't sleep. The fear was too strong. I closed my eyes and prayed. I had never been particularly religious, but that night I prayed like I never had before. I prayed for strength, for peace, and to not feel so scared. The day of the surgery arrived in the blink of an eye. The nurses prepared me, and I was taken to the operating room. I remember looking at the lights on the ceiling as I was wheeled down the corridors. I felt my heart beating strongly in my chest, and then, nothing. Total darkness. I don't know how much time passed, but suddenly I found myself in a completely different place. There were no more bright lights or sounds of machines. I was in a green field under a blue sky, with a shining sun warming my skin. I felt light, as if I had left behind all the weight of my life. As I looked around, I saw a figure in the distance. I couldn't make out who it was, but there was something familiar about that presence. I slowly approached, and with each step, I felt a growing sense of peace inside me. When I got close enough, I realized who it was. It was Alex. He was there with his gentle smile and eyes sparkling with affection. He didn't speak, but his gaze told me everything. He was happy to see me, and I felt a deep calm that I had never felt before. He took my hand, and without saying a word, we started walking together. As we walked, Alex showed me different moments of my life. It was like watching a movie, but the scenes were memories I had almost forgotten. I saw our wedding day, the birth of our children, the moments of joy and sorrow that had shaped our existence together. Each memory was accompanied by a sense of understanding. As if everything, even the most difficult things, had had a meaning. I felt love and connection with the people I had met in my life. I was enveloped in a feeling of warmth and unconditional love. Then Alex took me to a special place. It was a small, cozy house that reminded me of our home in Greenville. We entered, and sitting at the kitchen table were my parents, grandparents, and even some friends I had lost over the years. It was a reunion of souls I had loved and who had loved me. We talked, laughed, and I felt as if time didn't matter. It was all so real, so true. But I knew it couldn't last forever. I heard a voice, like a whisper in the wind, telling me it was time to go back. I looked into Alex's eyes, and he smiled at me. "You have to go back, Maggie," he said softly. "It's not your time yet." I felt a deep sadness, but also an understanding. I nodded, and slowly the world around me began to fade. The last thing I saw was Alex's smile, and then suddenly I was back in the darkness. I woke up in the hospital with the sounds of machines monitoring my heart and the nurses talking to me. I was alive. I was back. But something inside me had changed. I was no longer afraid of death. I had seen the other side, and I knew there was love and peace waiting for me. This experience changed me deeply. I realized that death was not something to fear, but a natural part of the journey. And with this awareness, I found a new strength to live the days I had left with joy and gratitude. After returning home from the hospital, I started reflecting on all the people I had met in my life. I realized there were still many connections to rediscover and perhaps heal. I decided to contact old friends and acquaintances I had lost touch with. The first name that came to mind was Janet, my best friend from high school. We had been inseparable, but life had taken us in different directions. Janet had moved to California, and we had lost touch. I didn't even know if she was still there or what she was doing, but I wanted to find her. After some online searches, I found Janet's phone number. I took a deep breath and called her. After a few rings, a familiar voice answered. "Hello, Janet, it's Maggie." There was a moment of silence, then an exclamation of joy from the other end of the phone. "Maggie, I can't believe it. It's been so long." We talked for hours, sharing our lives. I discovered that Janet had become a successful writer and had 2 children. I told her about my near-death experience and how it had changed me. Janet was fascinated and told me she absolutely wanted to see me in person. We decided to meet halfway in a small village in Colorado. It was an emotional reunion. It was as if no time had passed. We laughed, cried, and hugged, promising never to lose touch again. The second name that came to mind was Robert, an old colleague I had worked with for over 20 years. Robert had been like a brother to me, but a misunderstanding had ruined our friendship. I decided it was time to make amends. I found Robert's address and wrote him a letter. I explained everything, apologizing for my behavior and hoping to start over. I didn't have to wait long for a response. Robert called me and accepted my invitation to have coffee together. When we met, it was like a huge weight was lifted off our shoulders. We talked at length, clearing up all misunderstandings and laughing about old times. Our friendship was reborn, stronger than before. Each reconnection gave me a sense of completeness and inner peace. I understood that life was too short to hold on to grudges or regrets. I needed to make peace with my past to fully live in the present. I continued to contact other people. Sarah, my college roommate with whom I had lost touch after graduation. Michael, an old neighbor who had moved away years before, and even my first boss, Mr. Johnson, who had taught me so much. Each meeting was a new discovery, a new opportunity to connect with my past and strengthen the bonds of the heart. Each person I met brought a new lesson, a new perspective, and enriched my life in ways I had never imagined. This experience of reconnecting with old friends not only gave me peace, but taught me the importance of forgiveness, gratitude, and love. I felt more alive than ever, more connected with the world and with myself. With a light heart and an open mind, I decided to embark on new adventures. Every day was an opportunity to live fully, to love without reservation, and to appreciate every moment. My near-death experience had taught me that life was precious and that I shouldn't take anything for granted. With this awareness, I dedicated myself to new passions, met new people, and embraced each day with joy. And so my story continues, with the awareness that life is a wonderful journey, full of surprises, lessons, and love. And I know that when my time comes, I will be ready, without fear, knowing that on the other side there is only peace and love. Looking back at Maggie's story, I can't help but feel a deep admiration for her courage and her ability to transform a deep fear into a life full of love and connections. Her experience teaches us that life is too short to be wasted on grudges and regrets. Every day is an opportunity to reconnect with those we love, to forgive, and to live fully. Maggie showed us that we should not fear death, but rather embrace life with gratitude and joy. Her reconnections with old friends and her dedication to new passions are a powerful example of how we can find meaning and happiness in every moment. I invite you to reflect on this story and think about what you can do today to improve your life and the lives of those around you. Who is someone from your past that you would like to reconnect with? What are the passions you have always wanted to pursue but never found the time for? If this story touched you, I invite you to leave a comment below. Share your reflections, your experiences, and your stories. And if you enjoyed listening to Maggie's story, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more inspiring stories. Remember, life is a precious gift. Live it with love, gratitude, and courage. Thank you for listening.